Okay, so in the previous video we applied this OLS model, or linear model, and we used that to predict the probabilities of mortgage being denied or mortgage being approved. And of course OLS is not good for predicting probabilities because inevitably it'll breach the 1 boundary and the 0 boundary. So we then proceed here. Again, I'm following very closely the chapter 11 of Introduction to Econometrics with R, and you can use the econometrics with R. You can, that HTML, find that textbook which is available and code replete, and I pretty much follow the available script here with small modification where I relabel the headings so that they are consistent with the Halvarian paper, but otherwise the same. So everything here is we tried to replicate in the video clip here using in RStudio Cloud. Okay, so we run this logit model, we get some output. There's an intercept and it's univariate, so we're predicting this 1, 0 variable, and the predictor we use uniquely is the debt expense to income ratio, and we observe as before there is a positive relationship between DIR and mortgage being denied. Then we plot that, and we plot, so what are we plotting? Again, the ones and the zeros as before, and we make clear that the upper band relates to mortgage denied and the lower relates to mortgage being approved. And then we set out the set of x's, our independent variables that we'll input into our model, and then we'll predict y using the logit model. And then we make the prediction, and we can see that one of the nice features with the logit model is the output from the model, the prediction made by the model, will be bounded by 1 and 0, right? And so when we're predicting, this is quite convenient because it avoids obtaining nonsensical type values where the probability is in excess of 1 or inferior to 0. We can put in legends and so on. Next, we run the same output, same model, but we include in the variable for black, and we get a summary here. And again, one of the features that we note is that there's a positive relationship between an individual or an applicant being black and their mortgage being denied, right? And of course, as before, positive relationship between DIR and mortgage being denied, so that's consistent with the results we obtained before. And then to investigate a little bit more thoroughly the impact of race in terms of mortgage origination. So the original research based on Manal et al. 1996, the central thrust was really to investigate the extent to which racial discrimination existed in terms of mortgage approval decisions. So here we've run, made predictions here in terms of model where we input in, so we take the model, the deny logit 2 model, which is an object, and then we consider 2 inputs, whether the individual was yes black or not black, and then in addition we're considering for the same prediction
we're considering a DIR of 0.3 and again 0.3. So basically we're inputting into our model here a value of 0.3 and then subsequently 0.3 and then for black or non-black. And when we make those predictions, then output the results for the predictions. If the individual is not African American, not black, then the risk of mortgage being denied is just 0.0748, so 7.4849%. But if the with a DIR of 0.3, but if the individual is African American, then the probability of being rejected for mortgage, so denied mortgage approval, is 22%, and so a discrepancy of 15 or so percent then divides both applicants. We to compute the difference between the two then directly 14.9%. Now note we haven't included all the other variables here, just two, DIR and then race, but it's fairly just superficially at least, there seems to be quite strong evidence that there is different treatment for individuals of different racial background. Now, so again, this is very nuanced, and there was quite, when the original paper, the Manel et al. 1996 paper, was published, that generated a lot of heat amongst academics. People took different stances, and also, of course, it's quite a hot topic, still is today. Also, people have difficulty defining what racial discrimination represents. To some degree, people ignore how we got here and why there are, some of the history, and those people who reflect more deeply on the history probably detect are more sensitive to racial discrimination across a variety of different areas, whether it's education, whether it's people's distribution of wealth, and also in terms of relationships with significant social institutions like financial institutions and banks and schools and so on. Now, if you wanted to share this project, if you wanted to collaborate with colleagues, you can click on this link here, Share Project link, and that would then provide you with a web address that you could paste into an email and send to those colleagues. Important that when you have to grant access to everybody, so you must have that status. For the moment, I'm going to leave it just with me because this is a project I don't plan to distribute with colleagues for collaboration or anticipate new authors making a contribution. But if you wanted to share, you can click here on everybody, then you go back to share the project link, and then once you have the link, you can then paste that into an email and share with perhaps a supervisor or with colleagues in a joint research project. And that's one of the interesting features here with RStudio, that it does, RStudio Cloud, that it does allow in this online version a lot of teamwork and participation and sharing by colleagues, and it permits collaboration then on projects. Okay, so that's one of its strengths. And if you submit a project, then also sharing that link is a way of interrogating those results. So that's something worth bearing in mind. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to stop the video here.